What's good, y'all? Welcome back. I'm your host for today, Simon Villanos, aka Coach V, and we bring you your 2024 Week 4 NAIA Women's Flag Football recap. Not a whole lot of games here, but a solid amount to go over. On this episode, we'll obviously recap those games, talk Playmaker of the Week, power rankings, and whatnot before we wrap this thing up. And the games that we cover, by the way, I feel like we should go ahead and include this, but it covers games from March 4th all the way to March 10th. And so I know these episodes usually come out on a Tuesday, so if there's any games that happen on a Monday, we'll go ahead and cover it on next week's episode. So there you go there. Alright, let's go ahead and get this thing started with a recap of our March 4th Monday game, number 16 Life according to our power rankings, versus number 12 Milligan. Milligan traveling to Georgia for this one, and this would be an absolute thriller here. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So, first quarter, not too much going on here. Both teams on their first drive would actually get into the red zone, but would not be able to score. Both of them turning it over on down. So not too much going on there. So we're just going to kind of skip that and go into the second quarter, where Milligan is in a 2nd and 16 here after getting their first initial first down of this second drive for them. And here's what happens. They run a little bit of some RPO action where the quarterback, Bridget Kaiser, would just end up throwing the swing route to one of her backs, or one of the players that lined up as a back in the backfield, in Destiny Johnson, who would make the catch and spin out of one pull before turning on the Jets and going 50-plus yards to the house here. A great play by Destiny Johnson, who just absolutely burns his defense and gives them an early lead. On the extra point, Kaiser throws the fade route right here, and it's caught by Sarah Rancorn, who gives them the 7-0 lead with about 11:46 left here in the second quarter. Now, on the next drive for Life here, quarterback Kamaya Graves and Jayla Wright had a good connection going with some promising plays that resulted in a couple first downs, but would eventually stall out on this drive here, and it would be another turnover on downs for Life. Milligan, though, would take over, but once again, not able to get too much going here. A tough drop on, it looks like 3rd and 5 here, 3rd and 6 here, would eventually result in a 3 and out. Now, Life would get a pretty good return on this next drive here, or on this punt that would set up this next drive with about 6:45 left, and they would be kind of rolling here, getting a first down across midfield thanks to a check down to their center, number 17, Lizette Fernanda Ruiz Franco there. And then another penalty against Milligan would kind of help them out. But then this is where they made a pretty tough mistake here. 1st and 12. Kamaya Graves rolls right and goes deep, but it's an ill-advised pass, and safety slash DB Ashton Weirley is able to go ahead and pick that and end yet another promising drive. But once more, Milligan is not able to go ahead and make them pay for that play there, as a false start would hurt their drive just to start this one here, and then they would have a couple incompletions that would just not go their way, and so they would end up not doing anything with that turnover, and so it would be a turnover on downs, and Life would get the ball here with the 1st and 19 in the red zone with 1:55 left. It was about, it wasn't the worst 4th down conversion or play here. It was 4th and 2. They still haven't gotten a first down. They were definitely threatening getting a 3 and out at this point, but they decided to go for it. The pressure was there, and the slant was overthrown. And so, like I said, tough incompletions on that drive for Milligan will kind of set this one up here for Life, where they get great field positioning in the red zone with only 1:55 left. And so here is what happens. On first, Graves rolls right before launching one into the end zone. Pass is dropped on the way down. It was also good coverage there, so that brings up second. Before they could run that play, though, Life would call their first timeout at 1:47, and then out of that timeout, on second down, Graves steps into it and throws the post, but is just a step too far here, just missing a receiver, so another incompletion. Now third down, mind you, still 3rd and 19 here, and here's what happens. Graves is pursued right, but is sacked by the Milligan rusher here. I believe that's Destiny Johnson, so now that brings up 4th and 20 here. Life calls their second timeout with 43 seconds before running this play, and here's what happens. Kamai Graves drops back and throws the post here to, I believe it's Akira Braithwaite, who breaks some tackles and walks it in for the touchdown. Also, break some tackles, I think, is a generous term. Milligan just missed some pulls there. I mean, mind you, it was like 4th and 19, so that's a tough one there, but Life gets on the board here. On the PAT, Graves just checks it down to her center, who ties it at 7-7 right before the half ends. So there you go there. Now let's get into the third quarter here, which wasn't super eventful. Both offenses really struggled. When Milligan got their first drive of the second half, they were actually able to get into the red zone. I will give them that. But they had a couple of tough drops and a sack by Rayford here, the Life rusher, that kind of really hurt and stalled this drive for them. But like I said, I mean, some tough drops here, some open drops would really hurt them more than, I would say, that sack. So there you go. That would be a turnover on downs. Let's go ahead and skip into the fourth quarter here. Life would get a promising drive going here where Graves throws it over the middle to number 25 for a solid game to start them off. Move up a couple plays. It's 3rd and 1. Graves goes right up the middle and swivels her hips. The receiver does, for a huge 20-plus yard gain past midfield. But from there, they would not be able to get too much going here. Unfortunately, on 4th and 11, Graves is forced to check it down instead of throw it deep. And so that one is bobbled and eventually intercepted by Caitlin Quinn. So not only was it they didn't get too many yards here, but it's still a turnover here, still intercepted by Caitlin Quinn, and so Milligan would take over. But once more, just not able to get anything going, not able to go ahead and capitalize on those turnovers there as they go 3 and out here, an incomplete, a false start, a short run, which I don't know why you're running it on 2nd and 21, but they had a short run, and then another scramble, another run, as well as a penalty thrown on Milligan, will kind of hurt them here as they made a lot of mistakes on their own on that drive. Now Life, they would go ahead and make them pay for that as they would take over with the 1st and 1 near midfield with about 6:40 left here in the fourth quarter. And here's what's happening here. Graves runs for a first past midfield, making it 1st and 13. So there you go there. Following that, Kamai Graves drops back, puts it on the money on the post route to Alteria, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, Gooch, who then puts them in the red zone on that catch. So now it's 1st and 18. On 1st and 18, Graves drops back, throws the slant left to number 12, who makes it 2nd and 4. And then on 2nd and 4, Graves drops back, checks it down to her center, number 17. That's Lizette Fernanda Ruiz Franco, the center, who walks it in and gives Life their first lead of the game, 13-7. Now the extra point is picked off, but it pretty much doesn't matter here. Life has the lead, and Milligan takes over with about 3:57 left in this game, with a chance to first tie this game and then potentially win it. But they got to drive down the field first, which they've kind of struggled with on and off this game here. So here's what happens. On 1st down, Bridget Kaiser finds Ashton Wearley on the post for a big gain. That makes it 1st and 1 here, just before midfield here. On 1st down, Kaiser with the read option goes right and gets that first, though, making it 1st and 19 past midfield, just barely past midfield. Fast forward a couple plays here. A penalty would really hurt them and put them in a 3rd and 19 situation right after the 2-minute warning. And so on 3rd and 19, Kaiser drops back, hits a slant to Caitlin Quinn for a solid gain, but not a first down. It is 4th and 14. Milligan calls a timeout at 1:52 here, and then out of the timeout, here is what happens. 4th and 14. Milligan needing this one to extend this drive here. Kaiser drops back, steps into the pocket, and throws a laser on a very skinny post left to Ashton Weirley, who puts them in the red zone, almost scoring, but is dropped just short. It's 1st and 2. That's how short it is. And on 1st down, they hand it right to the running back, Michaela Davis, who gets stopped for kind of a big loss. So now it's 2nd and 5 here. And on 2nd down, they run a play action. Kaiser throws the out route to Ashton Weirley, and that ties the game at 13-13 here. PAT would end up not being good for Milligan, as they would get 2 tries at this. The first time, their receiver just got laid out, so that gave them another chance here. And then on the 2nd try, the out route was thrown. It was the right decision, but the ball was dropped here. And so it stays tied at 13-13. Life is not able to get anything going here. And so here we go. We go into overtime. How this works is that both teams start from the 10-yard line going into the end zone here. And it's basically college rules, just like college football. You know, one team will get a chance to score, then the other team will get a chance to match them. If they don't get the touchdown, or if they get the touchdown and don't get the PAT, then the other team wins. And so here we go. Milligan starts with it, 1st and 10. Kaiser throws the drag to her center, Sam Urso, who gets a good gain. Almost gets in, but it's 2nd and 1 here. After a drop pass, it's now 3rd and 1. Kaiser throws the out to Ashton Weirley, who makes it 19-13. On the PAT, Kaiser throws the fade, but it is knocked away. Really good defense by Life here. And so Life with a chance to win this game if they get the touchdown first and then the PAT. And so here we go. Life with the 1st and 10. Graves, they basically just call a quarterback draw, and she runs it right up the middle for the touchdown there. Some poor flag pulling on that one. And so she ties it right away at 19-19. Then on the PAT, a chance to win it. Graves throws to the back of the end zone and has an open receiver, but Ashton Weirley gets in there and knocks the ball away to prevent the potential game-winning catch. It was the right play, but just an even better defensive play by Weirley, who's having a great game here. And so here we go. We're going into double overtime. Same rules here. Life, though, will start with the ball on the 10. And on 1st down, once more, Graves rolls right, and Alexa scramble and gets a solid gain. That brings up 2nd and 1, though. And on 2nd down, Graves throws a slant to Alteria Gooch, who is wide open, and she gives them the 25-19 lead. On the PAT, Graves finds a receiver eventually, and that makes it 26-19, putting the pressure on Milligan to not only get the touchdown, but also get the PAT. And so on 1st down here, in double overtime, for Milligan, they go ahead and hand it off right to Michaela Davis, who would score on the first play, making a couple players miss. Some poor flag pulling here. And so now it's 26-25, though. Life still with the lead. Milligan really needing this PAT for this game to go on. And so here's what happens. Kaiser throws the fade right, and it is caught by Ashton Weirley to tie this game. That's a huge play there to make it 26-26 and extend this overtime, this game really, for Milligan. Ashton Weirley making a lot of plays here in these overtimes. So now we go into triple overtime. And if I'm not mistaken, this would actually be history right here. This would be the first ever college women's flag football triple overtime period ever in the couple years that, you know, women's flag football has been around. So here we go. Triple overtime. Ball is moved up to the 1. And so at this point, you're basically going for a 1-point conversion here. So, you know, if you score, it wouldn't be a touchdown. They just counted it as 1 point. So here we go. Milligan starts with it. They just hand it off left to Michaela Davis, who walks it in to make it 27-26. So there you go there. No PATs on this one, but Life will get a chance to reply here. 4 downs from the 1 to go ahead and get it. And on 1st down, Graves on the quarterback dive leaps right over to tie it at 27-27. So now we are going into quadruple overtime. this is the first quadruple overtime in women's flag football history. So let's get into it. Life with the ball here. Graves rolls right, throws it to her receivers, and it looks like it goes out of her hands of her intended receiver, but goes into the hands of Michaela Morgan, who catches it in the back of the end zone. It feels like a backbreaker for a Milligan defense who played this one really well, just for this ball to get a lucky tip and bounce into the hands of Michaela Morgan. So now Life leads 28-27. The pressure's on Milligan here, but on first down here, Bridget Kaiser, cool, calm, collected, throws the drag route to her center, Sam Urso, who ties this game again at 28-28. And so that forces another overtime here, 5 overtimes. I'm not going to look up what 5 is. I know what quadruple overtime is, but we are now in the 5th overtime, and here is what happens. Milligan gets the ball, and here's how it goes down on first down. Bridget Kaiser rolls right and finds Sarah Rancorn on the drag, who then leaps into the end zone to give them the 29-28 lead. Life with a chance to respond. It is first down here. Graves rolls left and throws across her body here, and Milligan makes her pay for this one. Sophia Ortiz makes the interception on a clutch play and ends the madness as Milligan wins the longest game in women's college flag football history, 29-28, a 5 OT game here, and an absolute thriller. I gotta say, player of the game, I gotta give it to Sophia Ortiz. At the time, this was just going back and forth, them literally just scoring on first down and whatnot. And so for her to end the game, that is big time. But I also gotta shout out Ashton Weirley, who made plenty of big plays to just keep this thing going. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna make them both player of the games here. Both those players played excellent and played well. For Milligan, let's talk about them first. Let's react to this game. For Milligan, you know, they made some mistakes. I'm not going to lie. This is probably a game they could have won by a couple more and not even go into OT, but they just had some bad offensive drives where there were drops or penalties, and they were just shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. For Life, I mean, look, they showed their team that if you're going to let them hang around, they're going to hang around at the very least. Obviously made some mistakes here and there, and it came down to this last mistake they made. But, you know, they hung in there, and so you got to feel pretty good about this Life team, who is pretty young, just like Milligan. Altogether, this was a very good game, and so I really enjoyed this one. Just a lot of offensive mistakes, though, in like literally just regulation, and then when it got to overtime, like a lot of those things kind of went away. You know, it could be accredited to the field being smaller and them only needing a max of 10 yards at any point through these 5 OTs, but you know, hey, it is what it is. They played really well to keep this one going. Now, I do have some stats, but I was looking through this and I feel like some of these are just straight up wrong as far as stats go. I think for the most part it is correct, but there were a couple of touchdowns that I feel like were misallocated. Like Alteria Gooch has a touchdown and Akira Braithwaite does not, but I'm pretty sure Braithwaite scored at one point. Same with Milligan. Destiny Johnson, I mean, she should have been accredited for a long touchdown, and she is not. Michaela Davis has 2 here. I think she only had 1 real touchdown there, so there you go. And then another thing to keep in mind is that, like I said, at some point they stopped counting touchdowns and were basically just going for 1-point conversions, no PATs. So, you know, those weren't counted as touchdowns, even though they technically probably were. So let me just go down the line, read off what the box score says here. For Milligan, Bridget Kaiser had a good game. The young quarterback went 39 of 53 for 312 passing yards, 4 touchdowns to only 1 pick. Also had like 9 rushing yards, which wasn't a lot there. As far as receivers go, Ashton Weirley had a great game, 7 receptions for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Destiny Johnson had 6 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. Kayla Davis had a receiving touchdown as well there. Sam Urso, another big contributor with 7 receptions, 65 yards. On defense for them, Couple interceptions here. Ashton Weirley had 2 to go with their 3 tackles. Kaylin Quinn and Destiny Johnson also had 1 each. Also, see, this is where this is wrong. So technically they had 4 picks, but Sakai Newell was also accredited with 1, so I'm just going to throw her name out there. So there you go. For life, Kamaya Graves, 25 of 40, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, so 4 picks there. Kira Braithwaite, I know, had a touchdown. Lizette Fernando Ruiz Franco had a touchdown, and that was just mostly in in regulation. And then I think Alteria Gooch also had a touchdown. She also had 63 receiving yards. On defense, Kamaya Graves had 11 tackles. That led the team there. Braithwaite with 9 tackles and a pick. So yeah, those are the stats there. Like I said, I don't know how accurate they are, but I just wanted to list some of them off here. Great game, a game that's going to go down as the longest game in women's flag football history, but kudos to Milligan for, persevering and fighting it out.
Hey gang, it is your host for this segment, Kodey Stauffer here, and I am in charge of the recap between Kansas Wesleyan and Southwestern, their matchup on March 6th, an inter-conference matchup here in the KCAC here, and Southwestern hosting here, and also to start here. So let's go ahead and talk about this game. Just gonna do a drive-by-drive summary, then a little bit of a post-game kind of analysis, and then pass it on to the next one. So Southwestern starts the game here, and there is a pass right, but that is going to be broken up by number 12 of Kansas Wesleyan, Jada Wilson here, and the pass was lobbed, but probably should have been pushed a little bit more towards the sideline. Now, there's a quick flip left that picks up a few yards here, and that sets up 3rd and 3. Southwestern here calls a speed option, but on the speed option here, number 10 tucks up and runs up the middle. That's Miranda Dooley here, picking up the first down all the way to the 26-yard line. However, they do have an incomplete pass and then a run that is swallowed up for a loss here. And on 3rd and 17, that is just too tall of an order, and so Southwestern will eventually punt on this drive. Now, Kansas Wesleyan, they start their drive 1st and 8 here, and Southwestern comes out quick and aggressive on defense with 2 rushers, but there's a quick pass right that does pick up a handful of yards all the way to the 38-yard line, including a first down. Now, they get another pass right that gets to the 31-yard line here. That's Jada Wilson on the reception. And Kansas Wesleyan is marching down the field very effectively on this drive here because there's another completion here with a pass left, and the receiver makes a move and gets the first down to the 18-yard line. There's another pass to Wilson that gets to the 12-yard line, and so that is 4 straight completions to start this drive before finally there's an incompletion here on 2nd down that forces 3rd and 12. Now on 3rd and 12, the Yotes come out rolling left, and the pass is on the top shelf but a little bit behind, so not quite reeled in. And after a pass deflection on 4th and 12, that is a turnover on down. So Southwestern, after getting kind of picked apart to start this drive, they bounce back very strong here and force a turnover on downs inside their own territory. But they start off their offensive drive with a mental mistake here with a false start, and they are inside their own 10-yard line. They have a motion here, and they have a fake run to the motion, but they follow that up with a run of their own, and the run isn't quite there, and so Dooley goes back the other direction, and this is definitely a super improv play here, as Dooley finds Viviana Solis here on a pass that was definitely not meant to be a pass, and that gains enough yards to set up 2nd and 5. Then on 2nd and 5, there's an amazing completion just over the defender's fingertips to Solis once again for a first down to the 26-yard line. Now on 1st down, a pass rush forces a bad pass that is almost picked, but is dropped by the defense. So surviving that scare here, Dooley comes out on the very next play, pump fakes, loses the rusher, scrambles left, and picks up a few yards here to end the first quarter. Now to start the second quarter, the Southwestern team takes a deep shot downfield, but that is going to fall incomplete, and it'll end up being a punt on 4th down. And so Kansas Wesleyan gets the ball back on their own 24-yard line, and the first down pass comes in hot and is reeled in by Angel Roman at the 31-yard line, gain of a few. Now, after an incompletion, the Yotes have a speed option left that gets to the 26-yard line, and then on the following play, there is a snap, and 5 is quick on the rush here for Southwestern. And I think that the rusher actually, that would be Tana Weckworth here, gets a hand on the ball here, and that sets up 4th and 7 for Kansas Wesleyan. Now, after getting the defense to jump off sides here or get them in to encroach, it is now 4th and 2, very manageable, and this pass right to Jasmine Whitfield picks up a first down to the 18-yard line. Now, on first down, they have a lot of pre-snap motion and eventually run a fake and pass back to Roman, who gets inside the 10 after a few mispulls. And on the very next play here, quarterback Chihiro Owada here throws it to Jasmine Whitfield, who scores the touchdown here. And following that, there is also a 1-point conversion to Jada Wilson. That's good. And it is 7-0 K-Dub with about 5 minutes to go in the first half here. Now, Southwestern, they're trying to respond here before the second half, seeing as that they started with the ball. And they start off with a big pump fake and run by Miranda Dooley that gets a first down. But on the following play here for Kansas Wesleyan, that's going to be Lila Cassian here, who gets a strip, but a penalty moves Southwestern forward, and they come out after that penalty with a triple option. But that is snuffed out by Lila here, who pulls for a very, very short gain, if any. Now on 3rd and 6, Dooley evades the rush and scrapes back right and tries to get it out right, but it isn't quite there, the pass that is, and so it is now a punt, and K-Dub starts on their own 15-yard line. Now, they throw a pass left that picks up a first down to start their drive, but following an incompletion, it's now 2nd and long. Now, the next pass is tipped by a receiver and almost brought in by another, but unfortunately hits the turf here. So now they're looking at 3rd and long. But Jairo here drops back on this 3rd down here and throws it deep over the middle. And that pass is going to be reeled in by number 15, Jayla Howes here to get past midfield. So a huge pass here just before, having to probably punt, honestly. They get all the way past midfield here, and they follow that up with another pass to 10 here, who puts the Yotes at the 22-yard line. So 2 huge plays here that completely flip field position for KWU. And on the following play, the good times keep rolling as Chihiro makes a beautiful pass towards the pylon, but not everything can be good forever here. This pass is dropped, making it 3rd and short. And following another drop, it is now 4th and short here. And after 2 massive pass plays here, KWU is facing a turnover on downs to basically shut the door on their first half here. Now, they do call a quick pass to the slot here. Angel Roman is going to reel that in for a first down. But the Southwestern defense bounces back here with a pass deflection on 1st and goal here, and also do a great job of covering the receivers downfield, because on 2nd down there's a pass that just sails through the middle of the field and falls incomplete. Now on 3rd down, K-Dub comes out. They roll left, pass left, caught to the 7-yard line here. And now 4th and 7, they take a timeout here with 9 seconds left in the half. Now, with 9 seconds left, what are the Yotes going to be able to do? And is Southwestern going to be able to stop this squad here? And on this 4th down play, K-Dub rolls out here, getting some of their playmakers into the open field, rolls right, and Chihiro does a great job throwing kind of across her body, wide open to the middle of the field as Jada Wilson here on the touchdown reception. The 1-point conversion is no good. However, K-Dub does get a touchdown here just before the half ends, putting them up 13-0 heading into the locker room. And Kansas Wesleyan, remind you, has the ball to start the second half here. Southwestern just not able to really string together an entire drive, honestly. Just a little inconsistent at times on the offensive side of the ball. And then Kansas Wesleyan, I mean, they're going to score eventually no matter who you are. And, for Southwestern, allowing these big plays on 4th down and 3rd and long, you're got to be kicking yourself in the tail just a little bit here heading into half. But we come back and Kansas Wesleyan has the football, and there's a great pass to start this off, but a terrible drop, unfortunately, kind of will kill any momentum that Kansas Wesleyan might even try and garner for this drive here, because on 2nd down, there's another pass where if you put 2 hands out, it's definitely a catch. And on 3rd and 5, the ball hits the hands of a fully outstretched receiver, but it's not quite reeled in. That was kind of a tough catch here, but you know how my expectations can be sometimes. And so Kansas Wesleyan will unfortunately punt. Now, watching this stream here, Southwestern has the ball with about 10 minutes and 20 seconds, and then it comes back. The stream kind of cut out here. It comes back up at 8 minutes and 16 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, but Southwestern is getting penalized back to the 40-yard line, setting up 3rd and 20. Now, they have short little passes here that pick up just a couple of yards, and they will eventually punt. And Kansas Wesleyan will start their drive on the 19-yard line with 1st and 1 to go. They call a pass left here to Angel Roman, who gets a 1st down to the 28-yard line. And then Southwestern comes out and sends 2 rushers here with number 24, Tegan Smith, getting a hand on the ball here and forcing an incompletion. Southwestern here finding some success, sends 2 again, but this time Chihiro adapts here and gets the ball off quickly to the snapper and, gains a handful of yards, but is stopped short of the first by Carla Lopez here for Southwestern. Now, it is 3rd and 4 at the 36-yard line, and there's a pass over the middle that is almost intercepted, but it is bobbled and falls incomplete, and K-Dub comes out going for it, forcing Southwestern to take a timeout and talk things over. Now, on 4th down, there are 2 rushers being sent for Southwestern, and the ball is intercepted this time by a diving number 3, Viviana Solis here, giving Southwestern the ball on the 39-yard line going in. This is some of the best field position that S-Dub has had all night. And Viviana here with a great interception, a fantastic diving effort here to give Southwestern some great field position. Now let's see if they can capitalize on this here, because there's a handoff right that goes for about 7 yards before Alexa Mansour, number 2, gets the flagpole. Now on the very next play, there's a fake jet handoff, and they show pitch left and run right, setting up 3rd and 9. Now, after no gain here, it is 4th and 9. Southwestern in plus territory, mind you, and they are trying to get some points on the board here. This is a huge 4th down, and so Kansas Wesleyan, knowing that it's huge, sends an aggressive pass rush, and Miranda Dooley, unfortunately, settles for a short, quick throw, and that is not going to be enough to get a 1st down, and that's going to be a turnover on downs. Kansas Wesleyan with a huge stop following an interception, getting out of that situation and surviving it, and then also, getting the ball at their own 25-yard line. They only allowed 14 yards on this drive, with Southwestern having basically all the momentum from that turnover here. And on this 1st down play, quarterback 1 here snatches some ankles, buying time, and finds number 15, who sprints ahead, full of steam, to the 39-yard line to end the 3rd quarter. Now, to start the 4th quarter here, we do have a Chihiro to Roman completion here for a 1st down. And then Kansas Wesleyan kind of changing it up a little bit, calling a handoff right for a gain, setting up 2 and about manageable here. Now, there's a pass left to Roman, who does pick up another 1st down here, setting up 1st and 13 towards the end zone here. Now, the pass is narrowly overthrown on 1st down, but on 2nd down, Iwata zips it in to number 7 here, That is Lexi Marquez, and that picks up a few yards. And on third down here, there's a quick pass left to Dequee, number 4, who catches it and reels it in here for the score here. Kansas Wesleyan would not convert on the point after attempt. However, it is 19-0 with 8.5 minutes to go. And if Southwestern doesn't score fast, this could spell the end of days for them. And so they're trying not to get shut out. But unfortunately, the pass rush forces a throwaway before they have to hand off Wright, who uses a quick burst to for a first down to the 21. But unfortunately, Southwestern is going to have a few incompletions and punt. Kansas Wesleyan, they have a small return to their own 36-yard line. They come out with a deep shot right, but that's not quite reeled in. And then following a drop and 3rd and 4, there's a botched snap that sets up 4th and 11. And Kansas Wesleyan, they're going to go for it on 4th and 11 with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. See if they can run out the rest of this game. But the Southwestern defense steps up and forces an incompletion for a turnover on downs. Southwestern here, once again, just trying not to get shut out here, as this game is officially out of reach in my humble onion. But after an incompletion here, Dooley breaks left and gets into the red zone, actually, setting up their best chance. And I think their only trip to the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, at least since the first half. And so Dooley here, like I said, gets a huge run and gets into the red zone, but on first down, it is incomplete. On 2nd and 17, Southwestern dials up a hook and ladder right that sets up 3rd and 11, and they call a timeout with 19 seconds left here, trying to get on the board. However, it is thrown into double coverage on that 3rd down and incomplete, and another incompletion will lead to a turnover on downs and wrap this game up here. So that is Kansas Wesleyan on the road getting the victory over Southwestern 19-0. Awada here, 22 of 44 for 181 yards, 3 scores, and that 1 interception here. And then you also have Jasmine Whitfield, 7 catches, 54 yards. Angel Roman, 6 catches, 47 yards. And then Jayla Howes, 3 for 38. Wilson, 18 yards. Alex Jimenez, 2 for 17. And Dequee getting that 1 touchdown reception as well. So, this game here was, I think, a great chance for Southwestern to potentially make some noise here. But, like I said, they fall just short here. And, Kansas Wesleyan, they improve and remain undefeated to this point. And they would finish the rest of the week undefeated as well. But, it was important to establish themselves truly as the second best squad in the KCAC. And I think that's exactly what this win specifically does for this team here. Southwestern, like I said, just a little too inconsistent in this game. And, looking at their sideline, they're an exciting young team coming up here. But I will say that losing this game and then losing against... Oh, actually, almost just spoiled it. I'm not gonna spoil that. But it was a tough week for S-Dub here, and so being able to get something done here probably would have been pretty nice. But Dooley here, 32 pass yards, 53 rush yards. Viviana Solis leading the team in receiving yards with 20 here. But it's tough to not get any points on the board here. And they struggled to slow down this Kansas Wesleyan attack here. Like I said, 22 completions, 181 yards. They did get that 1 interception, obviously, which was huge. And, Viviana Solis really impressed me in this game on both sides of the ball. I think that she was making consistent plays. I think that this Southwestern defense has some serious potential, but I do think that there's just a lot of things to iron out. They're just a little bit raw, and, their depth isn't super deep, which I think kind of hurts them with all these players playing both ways all the time. But, there's still some things to be excited about for the KCAC heading forward, and, I have one more recap of KCAC action, but go ahead and stay tuned for that, as well as the other recaps from this past week. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I am your host for this segment, Kodey Stoffer here, and I have the recap for Midland versus St. Mary here, Wednesday, March 6th, 2024 here, hosted at Heatham Field in Fremont, Nebraska here. And, to be completely honest here, this game was all Midland all day here because, we are just 9 minutes, or not even 9, we're at the 9-minute mark in the first quarter here when Angel Ioane here finds Alea Livingston on a beautiful dime over the middle, deep over the middle for a 66-yard touchdown pass to jump out to a 6-0 lead here. And big plays would be the theme here as Midland would be able to do it a second time as well. Just a few minutes later after getting the ball back from St. Mary's. There's about 4 minutes to go in the first quarter here when Angel Ioane dials up another big pass here, this time going to Alyssa Butler on this play. Ioane on that touchdown pass, putting it past two defenders, honestly, just where Alyssa Butler could get it. And that was another 49-yard touchdown pass, and that was just kind of the vibe for the day here. Midland would take a 25-0 lead almost into halftime here with a Michaela Nunez 25-yard pick six here, and that followed a Jocelyn Lopez 10-yard pass for a touchdown as well. St. Mary does sneak onto the board here just before the half ends. Now, they did convert a short fourth down conversion to get into the red zone in the first place. And then this touchdown pass is lobbed in between three defenders. It's literally triple coverage. But Sade Irvin here reels it in somehow, some way from Cheyenne Brooks here to make it 7-25. But Midland here would just clamp up in the second half and finish some drives, getting up to 37 points. That was on an Olivia Dominguez-Millsop reception here, a 30-yard touchdown pass. And then Elisiana Patterson got her own 35-yard touchdown reception here. Both those passes coming from Angel Ioane here. Great performance from her on the day. 5 passing touchdowns in Midland's 37-13 win over St. Mary. I think that this was a critical win for Midland here, getting that first win of the season and, establishing that they are not near the bottom of this conference here. St. Mary's struggles continue here. They still just look a little inconsistent on offense. I don't think that their quarterback and wide receivers from the film that I caught were really on the same page here. And I think that there's still a lot of improvement to be made. And then for Midland here, it's always good to get a performance like this out of Ioane here, who, like I said, was just on the mark today and just did a great job kind of piecing this squad up here. And, this ended up being a good week for Midland, honestly. But, it's just good to get that first win here, get some confidence going. And, just in general, for this squad to be trending in the correct direction here is going to be very positive for them heading forward. Now, they do have a couple of games that have not been played and have been postponed, so I'm assuming that they'll make those up probably at some tournament at some point, or they'll play some double headers in the future. So they still have a lot of season to go, as does everyone else, to be fair. But Midland here, just trying to establish that consistency against more quality opponents will be their focus in the future. And University of St. Mary's, tough to experience another loss here and listen to the power rankings to see how their Ales have impacted them. And for Midland, I still think that we have a lot to learn. I like the athletes that they have on this squad. But like I said, just want to see a little bit more consistency pending quality of opponent. So those are my recaps for the week. Thank you all so much for listening, and continue to listen to the recaps that Coach V has and, just the stats and whatnot and the power rankings. So thank you for that. And peace.
All right, now let's get into the Saturday slate of games from March 9th here. We got Baker Number 9 Baker going to number 8 Southwestern here. A great matchup between two first-year programs. And here is how it went down. So to start, Baker would get the ball, and they will get to a pretty solid second and inches situation. This is how this play broke down, though. On second down, they would run a direct snap to NAIA Waller, who was listed, or not listed, but like positioned kind of in that running back role. And then she would throw it over the middle, but it would be tipped and picked off by Aaliyah Hansen of Southwestern. And so Southwestern starts with a 1st and 5 just outside the red zone here. Miranda Dooley, their quarterback, would scramble right to put them in the red zone, though. Just barely, but in it. So now it's 1st and 20 in the red zone for Southwestern. After a short gain on a Mallory Lund end around, it's 2nd and 18 here, and Dooley runs a power option left, but a penalty is thrown on a false start on the offense, so now it's 2nd and 23. And so on second down, Dooley rolls right and launches one deep. And it's definitely an ambitious throw here, as it is pretty easily picked off by one of the DBs for Baker, Jalen Harris. So that's just a really bad decision, I'm not going to lie here, just kind of chucking it up there. And so Baker takes over with a 1st and 11. After an incompletion on 2nd and 11, Gabriella Zabaleta, one of their quarterbacks, throws the drag route to Faith Phillips, who gets a decent gain, making it 3rd and 6 here. But a false start would make it 3rd and 11. And then on third down, Zabaleta under pressure throws one deep, and it is knocked away. And so they go 3 and out. On the punt, this punt wasn't the greatest, and so Southwestern takes over with a 1st and 1 near the red zone here. They would just hand it off left to Tegan Smith, who will get them a solid gain here. Pretty good gain of about 15, 16 plus. And so now they would be in the red zone. Thanks to that play, it would be a 1st down play, 1st and 9 in the red zone. On 1st down, Dooley on the RPO scrambles right, tiptoeing down the sideline, and would walk it in, making it 6-0 here. On the PAT, it looks like they run basically the same thing, but this time she is stopped short. Southwestern taking the early 6-0 lead here in the 1st quarter. Now for Baker, they take over, and they just continue to struggle. A check down, a drop pass, and then a dangerous pass thrown here, which is almost picked off in return for potentially a touchdown, would eventually be dropped. So it would basically just be, a check down, a drop, and an incompletion that would force a 3 and out for Baker. Southwestern would take over here, looking to build on their lead. Let's fast forward to a 3rd and 1 situation. They run a quarterback dive with Dooley, who gives them the 1st down in the red zone. So now it's 1st and 18. On 1st and 18, Dooley checks it over to the middle to her center, who makes it 2nd and 10 on a nice gain. And then on 2nd down, Dooley under pressure throws the check down to Samuel Abosco, who makes it 3rd and 7. And then on 3rd down, Dooley evades right, throws towards the sideline, but this is good coverage here. It's almost picked off, but it is dropped, so that's just an incompletion. And so that's where we pick up at the start of the second. 4th and 7 in the red zone here. Here's what happens. Dooley drops back, throws the out route to Viviana Solis, but her flag is pulled right away as she was short of the end zone. And so that's a turnover on downs. Baker finding themselves with a 1st and 16 here. Now, Baker, they make a quick switch at quarterback, putting NAIA Waller at quarterback now as they do rotate between Zabaleta and Waller. And Waller gets them going here, specifically on 2nd, where she checks it down to Destiny Martinez, who makes the defender miss and then is off to the races and gets a huge 20-plus yard gain, putting them near midfield here with a 1st and 4. Fast forward a couple plays, it's 2nd and 4 here. They go ahead and snap it, this time to Zabaleta, who's under pressure, but throws a pass to Waller, who then throws it on the dig to Kayla Harrison for a solid 10-plus yard gain, giving them a 1st down pass midfield. Skipping a couple plays, let's get to 3rd and 4 here. Waller under pressure throws the check down to Martinez, who goes ahead and gets that 1st down, making it 1st and 20 in the red zone here. But this is where things start to go wrong for Baker. After a scramble for a solid gain here, making it 2nd and 10, there would be an incompletion. Then on 3rd and 10 here, Gabriella Zabaleta will be back to take the snap, and she would drop it behind her. So now it's 4th and 18. And on 4th and 18, Zabaleta gets the snap, throws it to Waller, who then launches one deep here, more of a prayer than anything, but it's knocked away, so it's a turnover on downs. Now Southwestern, they're looking to get something going here. Still a chance for them to build on their lead. They would get a first down thanks to Dooley stepping into a nice throw, finding Viviana Solis on a dig route for a first down. But then they would kind of stall out from there. They would find themselves in a third and one situation where they ran a quarterback dive near midfield, mind you, but Dooley's flag was pulled just short. A nice diving play by the defender. And, Southwestern probably could have went for it here. They're near midfield, but they decide to punt it and make Baker move the length of the field here. Will travel the length of the field here to potentially score. And so it's 1st and 1 here with 1:12 left. Let's go ahead and fast forward to a 3rd and 1 after some incompletions. Under pressure here, Waller throws another incompletion. So actually, let's go to 4th and 1 with about 25 seconds left. Looking like this one might just run out, but a false start is called against Baker, making it 4th and 6. Like I said, still looking like it's going to run out. They're going to go for it here, though. Zabaleta goes ahead, gets a snap, and then scrambles right and throws it to Kayla Harrison, who gives them a big first down that puts them in the red zone. So now it's 1st and 14 in the red zone. Less than 30 seconds left in this half. First down's an incompletion on an overthrow. On 2nd down, Waller throws the hitch right to Harrison for a handful of yards. So now it's 3rd and 10. And then Southwestern calls it looks like a timeout with about 11 seconds left to get their defense right here. And so out of the timeout, Waller gets a snap under pressure, throws the quick hitch right to Janai Fernand for a small gain. So now it's 4th and 6 here, and then Baker would call a timeout with a second left. So regardless, this would pretty much be the last play of this half, pending a potential pick 6, and then there would be a PAT and whatnot. Or a touchdown the other way as well. So a touchdown in general. But here's what happens. Waller gets the ball, pump fakes the rusher, who then kind of just gives up on the play. Like the rusher just kind of jumps and lands past her, and then you kind of see her walking. And then Waller just runs it in for a touchdown, tying it at 6-6 here. Just a bad lack of effort play by the Southwestern rusher. I'm not going to name her name here. But if she continued to pursue here, there probably would have been a good chance that she would have stopped Waller short of the touchdown, as it was 4th and 6 here. And she just kind of gives up there, and so that pretty much puts the DBs in a tough spot to peel off their players and then try to track her down, but they're not able to. So that ties it at 6-6. PAT's no good. And so here we go, Southwestern, it feels like just without any momentum, but it's still tied here at 6-6. Now Southwestern, they do take over with the ball, but they're just not able to get anything going here. Well, they would. Sorry, that's a lie. Miranda Dooley would get a check down to Tegan Smith, who would give them a first down on 1st and 17. But then after that, they're not able to get too much more going there. They would have an incompletion, a handoff to Smith, who stopped short. That one wasn't even close, so it's 3rd and 16. And on 3rd and 16, Dooley aims towards the left sideline for Hansen, but it is out of bounds and also late, so it probably would have been picked. And so Southwestern is forced to punt. And from the return, Baker would actually start with the 1st and 12 past the midfield here. And let's go ahead and fast forward a couple plays to 3rd and 8. Waller forced to throw the swing to Destiny Martinez, gets a small gain, so now it's 4th and 7. Obviously, Baker is going to go for it. And Gabriela Zabaleta gets a snap here, but she is sacked by Tana Weckworth. A huge play by Southwestern to prevent a potential Baker touchdown drive. So that's a turnover on downs. But, this offense for Southwestern continues to struggle here. A false start would put them in a bad spot. And then on 1st down, they run kind of a weird play. Dooley runs right and gets in a weird collision with her own teammate before throwing it to that teammate who doesn't, she gets maybe a yard. So 2nd and 10, maybe not. I don't know. Just not a great play design there. But anyway, 2nd and 10, Dooley rolls wide, right, and throws it late to Solis. And this one, I mean, maybe if she threw it a little bit earlier or put more power on it, they would have had a better chance. But this one was just not going to be completed. And Faith Phillips makes her pay for that one with an interception. And so Baker takes over with a 1st and 10 here. Here's what happens. Waller finds Zabaleta on the out to make it 2nd and 2. Following that, Zabaleta gets a snap, then throws it to Waller, who gets a solid gain. So now it's 1st and 15 past midfield there. 1st down, Waller runs around before deciding to scramble and is eventually pulled down by Tegan Smith. So a solid 5-yard gain, making it 2nd and 10 here. On 2nd down, Waller then throws the quick slant to Phillips, who gets held. So that's a holding call. And so penalty yards are tagged on to, the completion. So now it's 1st and 20 in the red zone. And on 1st and 20, Zabaleta gets a snap this time, checks it down to Martinez, makes a couple people miss, and gets a big gain here, about 16, making it 2nd and 4 here. And on 2nd down, Waller checks it down to Martinez, who once again just walks it into the touchdown, making it a 12-6 game. Baker taking the lead here. And then on the PAT, Waller scrambles left before pitching it forward to Martinez, who brings it in, making it 13-6. Destiny Martinez with a great game so far here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward just a little bit here. Southwestern will get the ball, but it would just not go their way. They're suffering from some drops, bad play calling in my opinion, as in they would call a really wide bubble screen to the receiver on 2nd and 10, and that receiver would be stopped for like a pretty big loss. So now it's like 3rd down and like 15. On 3rd down, Dooley goes deep to Lund, but it's double covered, so Southwestern goes 3 and out. Baker would take over after getting a 1st down here across midfield thanks to a Waller completion to Kayla Harrison, who makes it a 1st. They would kind of stall out here, and so they would eventually punt it. Southwestern would then take over with about 8 minutes left here, and they would go 3 and out, just suffering and not doing well here. Penalties against Southwestern would make it a tough 1st and 25, and then it would just be downhill from there with some drop passes as well. So they would go 3 and out. Baker would take over with about 5 minutes left, really in control of this game here, but they would also go 3 and out. A drop snap would really hurt them, making it 3rd and long here. And then on 3rd down, Zabaleta, she will get her pass knocked away, so they'd go 3 and out. So Southwestern takes over, still not out of it. I mean, they could score and, tie this game potentially, but the offense is just not looking good, and there's only 2 minutes, 10 seconds left here. And so let's go to a 4th and 7 play here. Miranda Dooley makes the rusher miss, scrambles, reversing fields, gets a huge 1st down to get them past midfield. So this drive looks pretty promising here. It's 1st and 14 though, but Dooley goes up the seam to Solis, but it's just a bad decision and is almost picked off by the safety, but is dropped there. So there you go there. Bringing up a 2nd and 14 here, where it looks like Solis throws the corner route, but it is overthrown and intercepted by Logan Hernan. That would basically be the ball game. Baker would score a garbage time touchdown on a nice end around to Kayla Harrison, who would just get loose for like a 50-plus yard play. And so Baker would win 20-6. I think player of the game for this one's pretty easy. It's Destiny Martinez. She had plenty of huge plays here that set up, I think, all their touchdowns, all 2 of their touchdowns, really, all 2 of their important touchdowns here, I should say, that would, go ahead and give them the lead. And then, they would score that garbage time touchdown. But Destiny Martinez just played lights out, so she is definitely player of the game here. Let's talk about this one, though. Baker looked good. Originally, they had Zabaleta back there, and it wasn't working out. The switch to Waller really worked out, and then Zabaleta made some plays later on here. And so they were fine for the most part offensively. not taking too many chances, right? Especially as they took that lead there, and just trying to, use up some of that clock and not give Southwestern crazy field positioning. But they played well. Defense played really well as well, forcing a lot of turnovers, not just, incompletions and stuff, but like actual turnovers, which, takes a lot of motivation and life out of teams like any team, but especially a young team in Southwestern. When you see those mistakes begin to pile up, it definitely matters as far as motivation and momentum goes. And so a lot of credit to Baker. They played very well there. And, I thought this was a pretty dominant win despite it only being a 20-6 win. For Southwestern, defense, held them in it for a lot of this game, but offensively, they really let them down here. Miranda Dooley just having like a very off game, not playing super well. I got some stats which I'll talk about here in a minute, but she would just not play super well. And excuse me, that last interception that was thrown was Miranda Dooley, not Viviana Solis. I just wanted to make sure to correct that. So, a tough go, but this was probably bound to happen to a team that was playing really well, and so we'll see how they respond next week. Now, I got some stats here. Let me start with Southwestern. Dooley, like I said, struggled. 13 of 25, 63 yards, 3 interceptions. Had 31 rushing yards and a touchdown, though. Tegan Smith with 22 yards there. As far as receptions go, Viviana Solis, 3 receptions, 24 yards. Davina Little, their center, 3 receptions, 20 yards. Just not a lot, though. Leah Hansen with 1 pick on defense there. Viviana Solis was their lead tackler with 6. Mallory Lund with 5, though. For Baker, here's how their stats looked. Sanaya Waller, 18 of 27, 144 yards and a touchdown. Gabriela Zabaleta, 4 of 10, 28 yards, and a pick there. As far as rushing goes, Kayla Harrison with that big 64-yard rushing touchdown at the end. Sanaya Waller, 8 yards and a touchdown. For receiving, Destiny Martinez, 5 receptions, 83 yards and a touchdown. Kayla Harrison, 6 receptions, 48 yards there. On defense, Faith Phillips, Jalen Harris, and Logan Hearn all got an interception. And then Destiny Martinez actually led this team with 6 tackles and a tackle for loss. Zabaleta right behind her with 6 tackles as well, though. And Faith Phillips with 5. As Baker wins 20-6 over Southwestern. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about this Midland versus Cottey matchup on March 9th, Saturday. At the time, we had number 10 Midland going to play tied for 13th Cottey here. And so let's go ahead and hop into this one. So on the opening drive here, Midland would get the party started with a huge 20-plus yard completion from their quarterback, Angel Ioane-Keo, to Olivia Dominguez-Millsap. That would obviously give them a first down and be pretty close to being past midfield. Now, this drive would be pretty successful as Midland was just rolling. Ioane-Keo was on top of it, and this drive would end with Ioane-Keo finding Olivia Dominguez-Millsap on the slant in the red zone to put them up 6-0. Now on the extra point, she would be sacked by Carryon Cloyd, but Midland, regardless, would still take first blood and lead 6-0 here. Now, Cottey's first drive would be interesting. They would start with, I believe it is Tamaya Squire here, number 11, starting at quarterback, which is another interesting quarterback change for them. And like I said, their drive started relatively promising with a huge rush from Squire, who would go ahead and get them across midfield on a big 20 or 30 plus yard rush there. But unfortunately, this drive would end when Squire tries to throw a corner route here, and it is to Joliet Johnson, but it is a drop pass, a little overthrown, but just goes through her hands here and is intercepted by Eliva Livingston while they were across midfield. And so that would set up the second drive here for Midland, where Ioane-Keo would actually go back to Livingston on a nice post route, which went for about 20 yards. Following that, Midland would get a nice gain off of a check down and some personal fouls thrown on Cottey, so that would pretty much put them in the red zone. And then once they were in the red zone, eventually Uwanike would find Michaela Nunez over the middle to make it 12-0. The PAT would be no good, but Midland already with a 2-score lead with about 1 minute 5 seconds left here in this first quarter. But let's go ahead and, fast forward to the second quarter here. Tamaya Squire trying to lead another drive for Cottey. She does get them across midfield thanks to a lot of rushes by her and some very short passes. Eventually, they would be across midfield and find themselves in a 4th and 5 situation, knocking on the edge of the red zone. And so then they would sub out Squire for a Maya Karula, who would make a good pass, but it was an even better defending play here, play by the defense as they knocked it away and would force a turnover on downs at the 8:31 mark. Now Midland, they would continue to roll here and get across midfield before Uwanike took a tough sack, and then the drive just couldn't recover from that, and they would eventually stall out here. It would have been like 4th and 25, and Uwanike just kind of threw one up into the end zone, and weirdly enough, it just looked like there was a miscommunication with the receivers because they all kind of cleared out. So that was weird, but that's how that drive would end. Now, Cottey would take over with the ball basically at midfield with 4:40 left. Squire gets them started with 2 good rushes to get them a first down across midfield and in a 2nd and 6 situation. That's when they would sub her out for Karula, who would then come in, almost throw a pick, but then on 4th, she would throw an out to Shamise Lee, who went ahead and burnt her defender and went 20-plus yards to the house to make it 12-6. The 2-minute warning would hit by this point, and the PAT would not be good for Cottey, but they would at least get on the board thanks to a great play by Shamise Lee. Now, Midland, still with some time here, looking to maybe score and extend this lead. It would start with a nice corner route to Livingston, but almost see disaster when on the next play here, Uwanike will throw it, and Amaya Karula jumps this route and almost pick it off for what would have been a pick 6, but she drops it, so that's a tough one there. Uwanike will then eventually find Livingston on the drag. That will get them across midfield with a minute 21. Then a couple plays later, it would be 4th down, and Uwanike would roll right before throwing it towards the sideline in between defenders. This would be a great pass here, and it looks like it was to Elisiana Patterson, who, in my opinion, looks like made the catch, got a foot in, but the refs called her out. There was some argument there, but it was what it was, and by that point, there was only 14 seconds left in the half, so that was pretty much it for the first half here. That would have been big, though, as that would have put them in the red zone, and at least gave Midland a red zone shot there. So, there you go, but Midland, they still leave 12-6. Now, in the third quarter, not too much happened here, just really sloppy flag football, to be honest with you. Cottey's first drive would look promising with an initial first before fizzling out. Then Midland's drive was plagued with penalties committed by themselves, which would eventually force a punt. On Cottey's second drive of the second half, they would put together a solid one, getting across midfield, and then take out Tamaya Squire and put in Karula, who just kind of struggled against this pass rush here, just forcing to check it down for either no gain or maybe very short gains, and so that drive would eventually fizzle out after getting across midfield. Now, for Midland, they would take over here, and on the first play, Uwanike would go deep, and it looked like it would have been an interception once more for Cottey by Jolia Johnson, but this one is dropped, and this was a very underthrown pass, so that's a missed opportunity there. On second down, Midland would then get another drop. Then on third down, Uwanike would go deep. This time, it was not only dropped by one Cottey defender, but by 2. Both the corner and safety had a chance to intercept it and field it on third, but unfortunately both dropped it, which would be huge when it comes to field positioning, because Midland would go 3 and out anyways, but that would definitely cost field positioning for Cottey, who went from potentially getting across midfield to start their drive to starting across midfield. So there you go there, but that's just another missed opportunity by Cottey. Let's go to the fourth quarter where Cottey would really get going with Tamaya Squire at quarterback, who would get them across midfield, really focusing on the run between quarterback rushes with Squire and handoffs to, it looks like, I want to say, Jonathan Tolentino and Carry On Cloyd, mostly on those plays, and they would put together some solid gains and whatnot, as they would basically drive down to the edge of the red zone once more, about 5 or 6 yards out, and this time they kept Squire in instead of subbing in Karula like they usually did on these late downs, and Squire would end up rolling right and just kind of overthrew everyone, so that would be a tough one, but a turnover on down. So it's still 11:09 left and only down by 6, but with that being said, Midland was definitely looking to put them away here. And on, I want to say, one of the first plays of this drive, Ioane Keo would drop back and try to throw the corner, but Seamus Lee, playing corner, would just read this route and play concept very well and would jump it, getting a huge interception for them, and would get past the midfield with about 9:38. So Cottey with a chance this time now past midfield to get something going. But a PI, which, it would give Cottey some yards, but it was also on a dropped pass by Lee here, would eventually set them up near the red zone. Like I said, not in the red zone like that catch would have, but near the red zone. And so it's like maybe 1st and 1 here, and Karula would throw the swing route this time to Tamaya Squire, both of them in the game this time, and she would get a pretty good gain, making it 1st and 15 in the red zone. After a check down, Karula on second would almost throw a pick. It looked like her receiver fell down, so there was that. But that would eventually bring up 3rd and 12 here, and Karula will get the snap, but will get sacked by Sydney Red here on a big-time diving sack. That would hurt the chances of this drive. And then to make things worse, on 4th down, they would go ahead and snap it to Karula again. But once more, Sydney Red with another huge sack to go ahead and snuff out that drive, which killed a lot of momentum for Cottey. And so at 6:26 left, Midland would take over here, and they would just use up a lot of the clock, not going for too many deep shots here, and Ioane Keo just really controlling the game. You could also take a couple Cottey penalties that would put them up basically into the red zone. They would use up as many plays as possible, all the way down to a 4th down play in the red zone before turning it over on downs. But by the time Cottey got the ball back, there was only a minute 48 left, and so still enough time, but not as much as you want, and they have the whole field to drive. And so a couple plays into this drive here, Squire in at quarterback, she tries to throw it deep, but it is just a late throw here, and so it's easily intercepted by Midland's Elysiana Patterson, who would seal this game and end it as Midland wins a thriller, 12-6. Player of the game, in my opinion, would be Angel Ioane Keo. She did have that one interception late in this game, but was very hot to start, and did a good job throughout most of this game, just controlling the pace, keeping Midland's winning hopes alive here, and just playing good football. So really respect that. Let me go ahead and react to this game. I thought Midland played pretty well. This probably should have been a win by a lot more. There were just some missed opportunities when it came to offensive drives. Like, they would drive all the way down into the red zone and then just get nothing. That happened multiple times here. And so that probably prevented this from being a bigger, deficit. But a win's a win. Their defense still played pretty well for the most part here. For Cottey, the struggles continue defensively. Obviously, they played better, but still some missed opportunities. I felt like they dropped multiple interceptions, which could have changed the game, give those defensive players a chance to maybe field it and return it for a touchdown as well. And they were just drops, and so you can't have those on defense, especially in a 6-point loss. So definitely tough there for Cottey's defense. Now, for the most part, they played well, but I think it was helped out by the offense, who did a good job, was pretty productive, got across midfield a lot, just couldn't finish drives here. They have an interesting thing going on here with Tamaya Squire and Amaya Karula. Doesn't look like Alyssa Hollis got any playing time, at least I don't believe she did, and so I don't know if she's hurt or what's the deal there. But, Squire did a solid job, got some good gains. She's a very explosive athlete, so she could, rip off some large ones there. And so you want to get her involved. Amaya Karula, she is still learning, right? I mean, she has some talent here. She could run a little bit. She can throw as well. I think it just comes down more to decision making than anything. And so they have something with all the quarterbacks they have over there. I don't know if this would have been different with Alyssa Hollis out there, but as in like win-loss result. But, I don't think you could be too mad at this. I think for Cottey, they really fought hard here, played hard, and, they're able to hang with a team in Midland who is a top 10 team, right, in the country. And so you got to feel good about that if you are Cottey. But you got to build on this and move on here. Like I said, Midland defeats Cottey 12-6 in Cottey. Okay, real quick, let's go ahead and recap this Sunday matchup. That's March 10th between Kansas Wesleyan and the University of St. Mary. This wasn't really a close game here. Kansas Wesleyan would be up by 32 at the end of the first half, and the final score would end up being 44-18. Like I said, not super close here, but it is what it is there. We'll talk about some notable things, talk about the box score, because we do have some stats for you here. The first thing I noticed in this first half was that linebacker Alexa Mansur looks like she had 2 pick sixes, I believe, in this game here, both in that first half. So that was a big time there. And then offensively, I mean, they're rolling here with scores from Kodey, from Chihiro Awada, who continues to play well. Now, the final stats I got here, let's just go ahead and talk about KWU first here. Chihiro Awada, 9 of 21 for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. She also added on 47 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Emily Buell, she got in there, went 5 of 18 for 102 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Kodey at 37 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown there. As far as receivers go, Aaliyah Young led them in receiving yards with 2 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown, along of 66 yards. Angel Roman right behind her with 5 receptions for 42 yards and a touchdown. I think the only one with more than 2 receptions here in this one. And like I said, on defense here, Alexa Mansur played really well to go with those 2 picks. She also got 6 tackles, which led the team. Trinity Antonelli also had 4 tackles to go with that. Lila Casillion with a sack here in this game. Lexi Marquez with a pick, and Nikayla Howard with an interception. For St. Mary, they continue to struggle a little bit, but, against a very good team, we're able to get some scores in here at the end. Cheyenne Brooks went 9 of 18 for 112 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and also rushed for 11 yards and a touchdown. Ellie Campbell got in there at quarterback, went 8 of 17 for only 30 yards, though. As far as receivers went, Sade Irvin led with 2 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. Charisma Delgado had 2 receptions for 30 yards here. And then defensively, Michaela Swangby had 5 tackles and 2 sacks. Also, looks like she got a pick 6 as well, as she low-key has been having a pretty solid season as a freshman, I want to say. So there you go there. Not super close. Kansas Wesleyan, they went ahead, took care of business, winning 44-18. St. Mary, they did score 18 in the 4th, but it was basically garbage time. I mean, one of those scores was a Cheyenne Brooks run. The other one was, it looks like a pick 6, I want to say. Or sorry, not a pick 6. Excuse me. One was a running touchdown, and then the other one was a pass caught from Cheyenne Brooks. So sorry, St. Mary did not get that pick 6. Like I said, Michaela Swangby didn't. That is, she was stopped a little bit short there. But, it is what it is. St. Mary, they're 0-6 right now, while Kansas Wesleyan is the exact opposite at 6-0. KWU continues to roll for USM. Got some bright spots here, getting on the board 3 times in the 4th, but still got some things to work on. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Week 4 Playmaker of the Week. This one brought to you, per usual, by Code Red Coaching. Check them out at coderedcoaching.com or call them at 720-979-1914. So, let's go ahead and talk about some of the candidates here. There's a whole ton of them. Starting with that crazy Life versus Milligan game, Ashton Weirley is obviously one of the candidates for Playmaker of the Week. 7 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on defense. Also had 3 tackles and 2 interceptions in a 5 overtime. Jesus, a 5 overtime game, which is still crazy to think about even now. So there you go there. Also, by the way, there are a lot of not close games again, so I'm just going to mention some players here and there. Kansas Wesleyan versus Southwestern, Jerry Wada, she played extremely well in that one. Midland versus St. Mary, Angel Ioane Ko, Midland's quarterback, played lights out in that one, so there you go there. Baker versus Southwestern, relatively close game, but that's Destiny Martinez. She made so many big plays and extended a lot of drives for them. For Midland versus Cottey, I think I got to go with Elysiana Patterson. She made that interception at the end to seal a close one there. For this Kansas Wesleyan versus St. Mary game, this one was like not close at all, but I'll just go Jero Wada as well, just to recognize her as she has been on an absolute tear. But I feel like this week it is pretty obvious who the Week 4 Playmaker of the Week is, brought to you by Code Red Coaching, and that would be Milligan's very own Ashton Weirley, with her great performance in a 5 OT game, 7 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 3 tackles and 2 interceptions. Can't go wrong with that, as Milligan gets in the winning column, and they get a player, the first one ever, as their Playmaker of the Week, and our Week 4 Playmaker of the Week at that. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about power rankings here. First things first, this is how they work, at least our PMC power rankings, that is. So myself, Kodey, and Gino, we each individually rank teams 1 through 20. If we rank a team at 1, that's 20 points for them, 2, 19, 3, 18, and so on and so on. After that, I go ahead and take all those rankings, add up the points that each team has received based on our individual rankings, and then the team with the most points, they're our number 1 PMC ranked team, number 2, 3, so forth and so forth. And so in this segment, when I go ahead and refer to someone else's rankings and whatnot when talking about the comments that Kodey and Gino left, they are usually referring to their individual rankings, and then I'll make sure to clarify that as we talk as well. So there you go there. Not too much changing compared to last week. We had some movement and whatnot, primarily one team moving down here and a couple teams moving up as a result. But that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and talk about it here. Before we do get into this week's rankings, let me just recap last week's. In week 3, so at 20 was Bethel, 19 Graceland, 18 St. Mary, 17 Point, 16 Life, 15 Campbellsville. Tied for 13th was Cottey and Florida Memorial, 12th Milligan, 11th Reinhardt, 10 Midland, 9 Baker, 8 Southwestern, 7 Weber, 6 St. Thomas, 5 Kansas Wesleyan, 4 Thomas, 3 Warner, 2 Kaiser, and number 1 was Ottawa. So let's go ahead and hop into this one here. In last place again was Bethel. Did not play this week. So there you go there. They stay at 20th. At 19 is Graceland. I thought they would play some games by now, but for some reason have canceled some games here. And Kodey says this about Graceland. He says, I was really disappointed their debut got canceled / postponed, and I'm excited to finally watch them at some point, and same, you know. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know what happened there, but you know, for now they're at 19. At 18 is the University of St. Mary. I mean, none of us really had anything to say about them here. Gino said bad loss to Midland is going to have them drop down a spot after moving them up to 17 the previous week. So there you go. They moved down in Gino's rankings, but for the most part stay right here at 18. At 17 is Point. They did not play this week, so nobody had anything to say about them. At 16 is Life. They neither move up or down, but this is what Gino had to say about Life. He said Life had some serious momentum going right now after going to 5 OTs against Milligan. This new program has some serious potential to move up in the next few weeks. Kodey said this about Life: you always got to feel for a squad that loses in overtime, much less quintuple overtime. Oh, there you go. That's the term. Way to battle, and hopefully they can get a well-deserved dub for all the work they put into one game. Yeah, agreed. Life, I mean, neither moving them up or down to go into 5 OTs with a team that is ranked, a couple spots in front of you. I don't think that's a bad thing. That does reflect, I would say, more on the team ranked above you, but they're getting better. They're a young squad. Just keep an eye out for them. At 15 and 14, 15 is Campbellsville, 14 Flomo, Florida Memorial in our PMC rankings. Neither played this week. At 13 is Cottey, who neither moves up or down. Kodey said this about them. He said, tough loss against Midland to close the week, but beating Campbellsville was integral for this spot. Gino had this to say about Cottey. He said, 12-6 loss against Midland is enough for me to move them up a spot this week. I hope this low-scoring game means their defense is starting to figure some things out. Also, he did have this to say about Campbellsville, Gino, that is. He said, I dropped Campbellsville down a spot this week after Cottey almost beat Midland, and also the fact that Cottey beat the Tigers last Sunday as well. So there you go there. Now, not moving up a spot or down a spot is Milligan, who is here at 12. Kodey says this about them: I'm going to put Milligan here for the gutsiest win in the history of college women's flag football, who he has now at 9, moving up 2 spots for him. Gino has Milligan here at 12. I think they didn't move up for him, but he said 5 OTs is absurd. But they got the win, so I'm not going to move them up or down this week. For me, personally, I think I did not move Milligan up or down either. Actually, I moved them up 1 spot from 13 to 12. I mean, hey, a win's a win. It was a gutsy win. I think Milligan is a lot better than where they are at right now, in terms of wins, losses, rankings, all that stuff. But they are a young team, and so they still make some young mistakes, and hopefully they continue to learn from that, because I do think they're a very talented team who has a good core, but they have made some, young mistakes, which is why some of these games are a lot closer than they probably should be. So there you go there. Now, at 11 is Southwestern, who drops 3 spots here. Kodey had this to say about Southwestern, who he has at 11, which he dropped 4 spots from his 7th spot. But he said this about Southwestern: this might be a little harsh, but Southwestern needs more consistency and has the talent to do so much more, so I'm going to ping them. So there you go there. Gino said this about Southwestern, who he moves from 7 to 9 in his ranking. He said, ouch. 2 bad losses this week, and they only put up 6 total points between both games. The defense seemed to play well, but the offense was just unable to get points on the board. I still love what the mound builders have going for them, but they still dropped 2 spots after those weak offensive performances. And yeah, I gotta agree. I think defensively, they played well against Kansas Wesleyan and Baker. Offensively, they definitely let down the defense, I would say. Just some sloppy play, missed opportunities, and, it's still pretty early on in the regular season, so they'll figure it out as they go. But those are just things that you cannot have if you are trying to win on a consistent basis. So, there. Midland is the next team we'll talk about here. They stay right here at number 10. And also, sorry, I forgot to mention this. Southwestern and Milligan are actually tied for 11th, technically. So I'm just going to make that note here. But anyways, Midland right here at 10. Kodey says this about them: He says he has Midland at 12 in his. He says, kudos to the squad going 2-0 and winning big against USM as they should. Their other win being against Cottey. Gino says this about Midland, who he has at 10. But he said 2 nice wins this week with some great showings from their defense in both games. They do drop a spot this week, though, after the week Baker just had, which, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Midland, though, getting the wins that they probably should right now, and I think that consistency, definitely separates them from other teams. So, there you go. At 9 is Reinhardt, who moves up a spot here. They did not play this week, I will say that, but I believe I definitely moved up Reinhardt from 12 to 11. Kodey with Reinhardt has them still at 8, and then Gino with Reinhardt has them still at 11. So I basically moved up Reinhardt. Hey, they were previously at 11. A team inside the top 10, which was Southwestern, dropped out. So that left a spot for Reinhardt to basically move up just barely. So that's that explanation there. Now, at number 8 is Weber. They did not play this week, but they do drop a spot because one of the teams that we're going to talk about literally next, played and won pretty big here, and that's Baker, who moves up to number 7 here. Kodey says this about Baker: this team just continues to climb and now swap spots with whom they beat in my personal rankings. So he swaps Baker and Southwestern, basically, which results in that change. Gino with Baker said, what an awesome week for Coach Willie Lopez and the Wildcats. They have established themselves as a top 4 team in the KCAC and move into my top 8 this week after that great win against Southwestern. So Gino also moving up Baker from 10 to 8. I moved Baker up in my personal rankings from 8 to 7. It was a good win there, and so that was enough to actually take out Weber and move Baker ahead of Weber here. So Weber at 8, Baker to 7. It was a good win against Southwestern. Started off a little rough, but they made the necessary adjustments that they needed to, and that's going to be important down the line for these teams who want to be consistent and whatnot. So there you go there. Now our top 6 basically stays the same. 6 St. Thomas, 5 Kansas Wesleyan, 4 Thomas, 3 Warner, 2 Kaiser, 1 Ottawa. I don't think any of them really played here, except for Kansas Wesleyan, who Kodey said not only did the Yotes go 3-0, but they did so with a margin of 142-31, with resounding wins over programs that seem to be trending up, and they snuffed that out consistently. Gino said this about KW: that shutout over Southwestern almost had me put them at 4 this week. That was a terrific win for the Coyotes as they stay undefeated and keep things rolling. So there you go there. And, basically everything else in that top 6 stays the same. St. Thomas 6, 5 Kansas Wesleyan, 4 Thomas, 3 Warner, 2 Kaiser, and that number 1 is Ottawa. And so there you go. Those are your power rankings for this week. Not too much movement, but next week with the Reinhardt Invitational, which I don't think we're going to be able to watch too much of, unfortunately, but we'll be able to recap what we can. There's going to be a lot of teams, specifically teams in that top 15 that will be playing each other. So there's going to be a whole lot more movement here in week 5. But your week 4 power rankings go: number 20, Bethel; 19, Graceland; 18, St. Mary's; 17, Point; 16, Life; 15, Campbellsville; 14, Florida Memorial; 13, Cottey; tied for 11th is Southwestern and Milligan; 10th, Midland; 9, Reinhardt; 8, Weber; 7, Baker; 6, St. Thomas; 5, Kansas Wesleyan; 4, Thomas; 3, Warner; 2, Kaiser, and at number 1 is Ottawa. Alright, thank you for rocking with us. I know this was kind of a shorter episode. Next week, I can't guarantee that it will be longer, but there will definitely be a lot more to talk about with that big time Reinhardt Invitational. Until then, though, make sure you go ahead and follow us at Playmakers Corner anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Leave a comment, leave a review, whatever. We love hearing from y'all. And also show us some love on social media at Playmakers Corner as well. Well, until next time, we'll catch you later.